Video editing is a very beautiful craft, but what it also is very time taking. That is what most people think. Yes, video editing does take time, but most beginner editors are spending so much time that could be saved while editing their videos. They could literally cut down their time into half if they actually followed these 5 things. So I've just opened a sample project over here, and the very first thing that you have to do is to incorporate keyboard shortcuts. I know initially you might be thinking that I don't really need this, I can click everything on the screen, but as soon as you incorporate keyboard shortcuts, it becomes so much faster. Like, think about it at a very simple file management aspect. Right clicking on something, clicking on copy, then going somewhere else, right clicking and clicking paste. How much faster is Ctrl C, Ctrl V? That is exactly how much faster your whole editing process can be if you keybind the basic things like blade tool, ripple to right, ripple to left, ripple delete, just delete, take a snapshot, find in media pool, change speed. All of these things can be done with just your left hand, because if you're only using your mouse, you're essentially using only your one hand. You have another hand which is resting on the keyboard. If you can use the full potential of this hand, this can be getting half of the things done in split second. And kudos if you have a gaming mouse or a productivity mouse, because they have these side buttons. I have mapped this button in DaVinci to cut, to place a cut, and this button for delete. So when I'm cutting the footage, there are fumbles, there are repetitions, all of these things become so fast. I can literally cut a 20-minute video in less than 20 minutes. That's how fast these two buttons have made me. And it doesn't matter which software you're using, you can find very beautiful keyboard shortcuts. Like in DaVinci, you go to here, then click on keyboard customization, and you can literally find all these different keyboard shortcuts that are at your disposal. Now coming on to number 2 is something that might seem a little bit boring, feel like okay, this is taking too much time, but it actually saves 5x more time when you're finally editing the video. This one is specifically for videos where you have more than 30-40 different clips. For very simple videos, it is not necessary, but for any video that has more than 30-40 clips or going over like the 10 GB mark, it is very important. What I'm talking about is called file management. Like, look at this one. This is a general file management workflow that I follow. I have my footages in one place, I have my music in one place, I have my res, which means resources, all the stock footage, PNGs, clip arts, logos, and different things that I need are all stored over here. I have a folder for SFX, which is sound effects. I have a folder for voiceovers as well. In case everything is not recorded on camera, I might have to give some voiceovers to B-rolls as well. Those things are separately stored in my media storage. What does this do? It makes finding anything very simple. Even inside footages you go, you'll find like day 1 footages, day 2 footages, and this IQ footage, which means particular footages were shot on that mobile. Those footages are stored in that particular folder. Now this day 1, day 2 structure might not work for you if you're using multiple cameras, like you may be using a professional camera and an iPhone. That way you can also store your footages according to like, okay, this is the A7 III and this is iPhone footage. It becomes a lot easier to find things, because I'll tell you what people mostly spend time on and waste time on is, one thing is finding footage because their media bins are not organized. Secondly, they actually keep rewatching the things they have already edited. Okay, they'll edit like 3 seconds or 5 seconds of a really good intro, and they'll just keep rewatching because it feels good that, oh damn, I made this, but it wastes so much time. So that is why I have taken this approach of streamlining my whole workflow. That is point number 3, getting one thing done for the whole timeline. Now this might be a little subjective. Some people really like to work on one part of the video, finalize it, then move on to the other part of the video, finalize it, and so on. I know very good creators who do it and who do it effectively. I also used to do it, but if you want to go for quantity, if you want to get faster in your edits, it is finally time to get to the stack timelines. Some people also call it the hamburger editing. I'll show you what it is. So I have all my footages over here, right? I'll create a new timeline. I'll call it selects, right? I'll create another timeline, I'll call it main. Okay, now I'll open the selects timeline over here. So selects is basically because all the footages that we have, right? Like this footage is from here of me prepping up, getting the mug out of the frame, then placing it back in the frame, and all of these things. Now I don't need all of that in that particular shot. So I put in and out points using I and O, keyboard shortcuts, very important. Using I and O, I put in point and out point, understanding this is the selected part of that particular footage, and that is what I called selects, right? So before even I think about what to edit, how to edit and all of those things, if the whole narrative is sort of clear in my mind, I know which part of the shot is going to be used. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the selects timeline and pull it over here. Okay. And just like that, I'm going to get all the selects from all the footages right over here. Right. This might be a really long footage or something like this. Then there's this. And while doing this as well, right, the point number 4 also comes in here, is to color coding your things. Like this one is an A-roll. This is somewhere when I'm talking. So I'll just make it some other color. That is also bound to a keyboard shortcut. I press Ctrl 1 for this color, 2 for this color, 3 for this color, 4, 5, 6, and accordingly. Okay, I have my own lingo that this yellow is generally something that I have to check back later. This green is something that is A-roll. These things are generally B-roll, and I have different colors for text and other things as well. So the lingo is for you to set up, but this is basically what I do. I'll get some more things in, a little more gym sequence, and the lingo might vary a little bit because there are still 2-3 different colors which are not used. So maybe for this whole gym sequence, right? This whole gym sequence, I want to use a different color. That way, when I look at it, I know what kind of clip it is. I might want to just give it this lavender, right? It looks pretty cool. And why are we color coding these footages? It will make sense when we actually implement this stack timelines. What you have to do, you have to come over here and display stack timeline. Now you can come over here and create a new timeline and select main. Now, according to your screenplay, according to your storyline, you can add things from here. Just drag it. Okay, this is the first clip. Maybe, just maybe this is the second clip. Maybe this is the third clip. This is the fourth clip, and it comes in with a sort of a J cut and all of those things. And you can do all of these things right from here. Now you don't really need to worry whenever you are getting a new clip into the timeline. You don't have to worry about cutting it. You don't have to worry about setting the in point and the out point because it has already been set for all the footages that you have to put into your timeline. And this is something that I really like to do these days, especially for videos that are more complex. This video was not that complex, but it still has definitely more than 30-40 footages. Alright, so that covers number 3 and number 4. Now coming on to number 5. Now number 5 is not a workflow change. It is going to be some settings changes. That way, even if you are running your editing software on a lower end PC, it can handle it. Now I personally have an above average PC, I would like to say, so it runs things pretty well. I will get a smooth playback even at like 4K color graded footage. But if that is not the case for you, what you have to do is to basically use proxies or use optimized media. What you can do if you're using DaVinci, you can figure out how to use proxies in Premiere or Final Cut as well. But if you're using DaVinci, you come over here, you select all your footage, right click, and you click this, generate optimized media. This will make all the files really optimized, and they will basically create different optimized versions of every single file. It will be really huge in size, but they will be very optimized for DaVinci to run. You will essentially be editing with those footages, but when you're rendering, the render will actually outsource the actual footages. That is how it works. It's sort of similar for generate proxy media as well. You can do whichever you want. I personally like to use generate optimized media when I'm editing on my laptop, which is not as powerful as my PC. But yeah, that's something that you should do. The next thing you should do is to reduce the timeline resolution, because even if you are editing a 4K video or a 1080p video, while editing or cutting footages, setting in transitions, you don't really need that 4K resolution to be playing on your program monitor. So in Premiere, there is a button right over here where you can change to like 1/2, 1/4, 1/8. That is something, so you should always set that to the lowest value. And in DaVinci, you can change it from here. You come to here, project settings, and like this is a 4K timeline, right? I can essentially switch it to 4K and still get smooth playback. You can see it says 24 here, which is the timeline frame rate. And although I am capable of running it at full resolution, I would still bring it one step down, maybe 2 steps down, not to even 2K, to full HD. and then play it. It is much less intensive on my PC as well, and uske alawa bhi you can even shift it to maybe like what 720p. Where is 720p? Here you can send it to 720p as well. You don't need all the details and all the high resolution while you're editing. Maybe when you're color grading you might need it, but for the other parts of the edit you do not really need it. So do not overburden your PC, because every time the editing software is crashing, it is essentially wasting a lot more time. And if your editing software is crashing a lot, you guys should really consider switching to DaVinci. And yep, I hope you learned something new from this video, and I will see you in the next one.